Hello and welcome back to Nostalgia Rewind, the series where I take a look back at some of the games I feel most nostalgic for and see how they hold up now. Today's game is Nintendo Land. Nintendo Land was a launch title alongside the Wii U back in 2012, and at the time of uploading, it's been exactly 10 years since this game and console were released. It was often included alongside the deluxe Wii U bundles, very similar to how the first Wii Sports was bundled with the Wii. I see Nintendo Land as sort of a spiritual successor to Wii Sports, being a Mii-focused game with a variety of modes and minigames to play, meant to show off the unique technology of the system it's bundled with. But this game is much more focused on the local multiplayer experience, and that's where it truly shines the most. Most of my memories of this game are from playing it at a friend's house, since I didn't get a Wii U myself for a few more years. Those hours spent playing Nintendo Land with my friends is still to this day some of the most fun I've ever had with a video game. Something about the way these minigames used the gamepad just made it so replayable and entertaining. There's a special kind of nostalgia for games you only ever played at other people's houses. The limited time you have with the game makes every moment so much more memorable. So to celebrate the 10th anniversary of both Nintendo Land and the Wii U as a whole, I'll be going back and replaying all the content this game has to offer. Right off the bat, I just absolutely love the general theme and atmosphere of this game. The idea to make a party game into a theme park of minigames based on Nintendo's various franchises is honestly genius, and I still feel like that idea has near limitless potential. There's a really great variety of franchises represented here. You've got the big ones like Mario and Zelda, but also some lesser known ones like the minigame themed around the mysterious Murasame Castle, an old Famicom game that wasn't released in the West until 2014. Looking around and seeing logos for Metroid, Animal Crossing, F-Zero, Pikmin, and many more all combined together into one game is just really cool. Obviously, Smash Bros. Is still the ultimate Nintendo crossover, but I wish they would use all their amazing IPs like this more often. Welcome to Nintendo Land Plaza, the hub world where you can run around and enter all the different gates to start playing a minigame. Having an open hub area you can walk around is absolutely perfect for a game like this, and this plaza is a big reason why I'm constantly asking for a Woohoo Island hub area in a Wii Sports game. But Nintendo Land has the best of both worlds, where pressing Y will bring you to a traditional select menu for quicker navigation. The visuals of the plaza are bursting with color and happiness, with giant shapes and ribbons flying in the background. Once you unlock this green button, you can even change the time of day. There's daytime, evening, and night, with each having its own unique version of the main theme song. This makes it feel just like a real theme park, where the atmosphere and energy changes during different times of day. You can also change the music playing thanks to the jukebox item, unlocking new songs the more you play. There are plenty of other Miis walking around the plaza as well, and you can even spot them running in and out of the attractions themselves. Back when Miiverse was still alive, you could see what people were posting and click on their Mii for a full view of their profile and achievements. I wish Nintendo could have found a way to keep this feature intact, because the plaza does feel a little emptier without it. One of my favorite parts about this hub world is the way sound is used. There are these giant speakers in the middle that play the music, and walking farther away makes the music slowly fade and get quieter. And walking by the entrance to the attractions, you can hear a themed jingle coming out of each one. These jingles also play when you select each minigame on the select screen. This use of sound is really cool and adds to the overall immersion of the park. Once you actually enter into an attraction, retro music from the series plays as you select modes and players, which is just amazing. There's also these really cool animations where your Mii jumps and changes into an outfit that matches each attraction, which is a detail I've always loved. One of the main forms of progression is spending the coins you earn in the minigames on this arcade coin game to earn random items that will decorate the plaza once opened. The most prizes I was able to win at once was 28, and it's pretty satisfying to see that many shoot out of the top of the tower at once. These item boxes contain some display items taken from the various attractions, ranging from a tiny apple to full-scale models of Ridley and Ganon. This is a great way to decorate the plaza and make it more interesting, as well as show off how much you've played the game. There's a total of 200 items to collect, which actually takes a long time, and I still haven't quite gotten there myself. I'm pretty sure that when you hit 100 items, you get a blue button that makes them all raise into the air and spin in a circle, but it's possible I just happened to randomly unlock it at around 100 items. There's also a purple switch that makes you turn huge so you can run around as a giant, but I have yet to unlock that one myself. Besides unlocking items, the other way you progress is by trying to become a star player in all 12 attractions, which I'll cover the specifics of when I get to each one. For mainly being a party game meant for local multiplayer, there's a decent amount of things to do and unlock, and it's really nice to have something to work towards. Okay, that's enough talk about the plaza, let's dive into the actual attractions themselves. There's a total of 12, separated into 3 categories. Team attractions for 1 to 5 players, competitive attractions for 2 to 5 players, and the solo attractions are just for 1 person. I'll go from left to right in the order they're in on the select screen. Zelda Battle Quest offers linear on-rails style levels where you walk through familiar Hyrule landscapes and battle hordes of enemies, with a boss to beat at the end. The whole thing has this crafted aesthetic which I love. The enemies will even start having fluff come out of them once they get damaged. This one is interesting because I think it really works best when you have at least 2 players. If you're by yourself, you can choose between using the gamepad or a Wii Remote, where the gamepad controls an archer who can shoot stuff from far away, and the Wii Remote controls a traditional sword and shield setup that's better for close quarters combat. Both are fun ways to play solo, but it all works together a lot better if you can have both a sword player and an archer. It can create some really great opportunities for teamwork, where the player using the gamepad can support the people using Wii Remotes by taking out the long-range threats like fire arrow shooting pigs and flying birds, and the sword players can protect the archer from up-close threats. There's also some cool puzzles that make you all work together, like hitting these glass orbs in a specific order. This one is really about working together as you all share the same heart count, so everyone has to be careful. There are some flying heartbirds far off in the distance that are a huge help, and I remember my friends pressuring me to make those shots when I was using the gamepad, which was both fun and stressful. There's 9 levels, with a few extra hard levels you unlock afterwards. Things can get pretty difficult, with the highlight being the final boss fight against Ganon, and the secret final boss at the end of the extra levels is basically the same fight but even harder. This is a common theme throughout the whole game, but hearing new versions of classic songs from these franchises is really cool. There's some really great Zelda tunes here, including this incredible Time Attack song that actually ended up being used in A Link Between Worlds about a year later. My love of Zelda makes me really like Battle Quest, and I like that it offers a strong solo and cooperative experience. To become a star player, you just have to beat the normal 9 levels, which isn't too bad. Pikmin Adventure is probably the attraction with the most content, as there's 16 levels to play through as well as some extra challenge levels too. This one doesn't work quite as well as Zelda Battle Quest with multiple people playing, as the gamepad user is the one with the most power and control playing as Olimar. The people using Wii Remotes just play as Pikmin, although that is still really fun. This one feels more like a complete game, with pretty solid mechanics and level design. You can throw Pikmin by tapping on the touchscreen and swipe up to jump. The visuals look really nice, especially the water. This one is a little bit more combat focused than your average Pikmin experience, but it works pretty well for this minigame. Collecting Nectar will level up your player, and reaching levels 5 and 10 will give you even more Pikmin and make them do more damage too. Collecting these power-ups will give your Pikmin special moves like shooting into the air and slamming down with the Hammer Seed, or moving really fast with the Knuckle Seed. Olimar moves pretty slowly, so you have to pay close attention to enemy attacks to avoid getting hit. Some levels are these super stressful timed ones where you have to constantly keep collecting clocks as the timer gets closer and closer to 0. These levels change the flow of gameplay and offer a nice change of pace. There are some really fantastic boss fights here. They look great and feel good to take down. The final boss especially is actually pretty tough, and the extra stages offer a nice challenge and even more content. There's also a versus mode that's just an all-out brawl between the gamepad and Wii Remote users. I'll probably end up saying this for every attraction, but man, the music is just so good. It's great to see a series like Pikmin get so much love and attention in this game, as it isn't one of Nintendo's biggest franchises, so seeing this full adventure campaign is awesome. Becoming a star player in this one is as simple as beating the first 16 levels. Metroid Blast is one of my favorite attractions in the whole game. It just works so well in both single player and multiplayer. The Assault Mission mode has 20 levels with 10 extra stages, but they're shorter than the Pikmin levels and reuse arenas, so I still think Pikmin Adventure has the most content, with this one coming in a close second. The gamepad controls a flying gunship, and the Wii Remote and Nunchuck control a player who walks around on the ground and points around to aim and shoot. When I'm playing through these levels myself, I actually prefer to use a Wii Remote, as these levels feel a lot more fun and intense from the ground perspective, but it's also a lot of fun to fly around in the sky as the gunship. The controls are surprisingly good. Your Mii does move pretty slowly, but aiming feels really precise and accurate. You can turn into a morph ball to roll around, shake to dodge out of the way, and zoom in with C to shoot stuff from far away. This attraction controls so well that I kind of want an entire Metroid game with these controls and level designs. Most of the levels have you defeating waves of enemies, but there's also some where you have to collect tokens or defend innocent Miis from getting snatched up by Metroids. The enemies can be pretty tough, so you really have to stay on edge to not get hit. They really nailed the Metroids especially. Their sporadic movements are perfectly terrifying. The two boss fights against Kraid and Ridley are really great as well, offering some awesome spectacle and a decent challenge. Playing through these levels in multiplayer is fantastic. To me, this is definitely the most fun team attraction. I mean, the ground players can even grapple onto the bottom of the gunship player, which is probably the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life at the time. Oh, and fun fact, you can actually go inside Kraid yourself if the gunship hovers right above his mouth and you turn into a morph ball at the perfect time, which is amazing. Metroid Blast isn't on rails like Zelda Battle Quest. You have full control of your character, which means you get to freely move around and explore these super cool huge environments. The best way I can describe this attraction is that it's like the best game of laser tag ever. If you get tired of fighting against each other in the competitive modes, this one is the perfect way to start working as a team together. Unless you're playing in the versus modes, where it's just a chaotic mess of trying to shoot each other. This attraction is what introduced me to Metroid as a franchise, which has quickly become one of my favorites since. Basically, Metroid Blast is terrific, and it's almost worth getting this game just to play this one attraction. Oh, and getting a star just requires beating the normal 20 levels. Now it's time to dive into the competitive attractions, starting with Mario Chase. Now we're into the game modes that ruin friendships, also known as the really fun stuff. Mario Chase has a simple setup. The gamepad user controls Mario and the Wii Remote users play as Toads who have to chase and catch him. But Mario actually gets a full map on his screen showing where all the players are at all times, so the Toads will really have to work together to cut him off and tackle him. All Mario has to do is survive the 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but you can't just sit in one place as the Toads have a distance marker so they have a general idea of where Mario is. About halfway through the match, a star appears in the middle of the arena, which only Mario can grab. This adds an extra layer of strategy. Should I stay and defend the star or try and go after Mario? There's 3 stages, a basic one with muds and bridges, and one with big slides on all sides. The mud one is a little too unfair though, as these bridges that disappear once Mario runs over them seem a little too overpowered. This is probably the one me and my friends spent the most hours on back in the day, as it's just so much fun to replay over and over again. I especially love the replay feature at the end that shows where everyone goes throughout the whole match. It's so satisfying to see all your fake outs as Mario, and amazingly annoying to know that he was right around that corner the whole time as a Toad. At the end of each match, the game asks if you want to change who's using the gamepad, which is a fast and easy way to switch things up and let other people try being Mario. There will be plenty of screaming and shouting at the TV, and it never gets old. This is basically the perfect example of what asymmetric gameplay is capable of. Having the players fill such different roles and then putting them against each other is seriously so much fun, and this game alone proved the gamepad could be a really great tool to enhance the experience. Mario Chase strikes the perfect balance between the two opposing sides, where it's satisfying when either one finally wins and not too frustrating when you lose. A fantastic attraction that's easily my favorite out of the 3 competitive ones. And becoming a star player just requires that you play it a total of 30 times, and that's the same requirement for the other 2 competitive modes as well. Luigi's Ghost Mansion has the gamepad player controlling a ghost on their screen that's invisible on the TV, trying to take down all the players before losing all their life from being hit with flashlights. And playing with a Wii Remote, you have to try and conserve your battery so you can use it at the right time while trying to avoid the ghost. But once the ghost starts getting close, your remote starts vibrating like crazy, causing you to freak out and spin in all directions, spamming your flashlight. It's so much fun to sneak around as the ghost, and it's really scary to play on the TV and know that the ghost could be around any corner. There's a lot of interesting mechanics thrown in here that make things more exciting, like flashes of lightning that temporarily reveal where the ghost is, and super batteries that shine farther and hit harder. If a player loses all their lives, they can be revived by shining a light on them, but you have to decide if it's worth it to have your back turned for that long. Both sides have to make good use of the maps, using all the little spots and corners to get an advantage. There's 5 maps, with the first 4 being really solid, and the last one just being a big empty ceiling that isn't super great. This one is balanced really well. Both sides feel pretty equal, and it feels like you actually earned your victory either way. The ghost is kept on edge by the flashlights being everywhere, and the Wii Remote users have to be careful to not use all their battery. This attraction can be a little bit of a power trip for the gamepad user, but it feels pretty good when the other people can actually work together and win. And it's another great example of the gamepad being used effectively. Animal Crossing Sweet Day is a fast-paced chasing one like Mario Chase, but this time the gamepad user is doing the pursuing. Depending on how many Wii Remote users there are, the objective changes. With just 2 players, the person on the TV has to pick up candy and deposit them in checkpoints before getting caught, but with 3 or more, you just have to carry a certain amount of candy between all of you. The more candy you're carrying, the slower you move, so once the guards get close, you'll want to panic drop as much candy as possible so you can run away. The gamepad player controls 2 guards at once using the dual analog sticks, which can be kind of confusing at times once they start crossing paths, but it just adds to the frantic feeling of everything. Once the animals only have 1 life left, the music changes to be super fast and it's just beautifully chaotic. This high-speed mad dash to victory is basically nothing like the actual gameplay of the Animal Crossing series, but the guy who literally invented Animal Crossing produced this game so he can do whatever he wants. This does fit into a party game a lot better than digging up fossils or building friendships though. You can even start strategizing like having one player not pick up very much candy and stay as a distraction to keep the guards busy while the other player mass hoards candy in the corner. This attraction manages to give both sides a healthy dose of panic, as the guards freak out as the counter slowly ticks closer to 0, and the animals freak out every time they see the guards coming for them. There's only 2 stages, but they're big enough and really high quality, so I'm okay with it. Plus the stages themselves don't matter as much with the gameplay style of this one. And that's the last competitive attraction. All 3 of these are really great and a ton of fun. These are some peak local multiplayer experiences. As I said, Mario Chase is probably my favorite, but honestly the other 2 are super solid as well. Now all that's left are the single player solo modes, which are a little less involved than the main 6 we've covered so far. Yoshi's Fruit Cart makes use of the touchscreen by requiring you to draw lines that Yoshi follows, but the catch is that the fruit don't appear on the gamepad screen, just on the TV, so you have to try and use landmarks on the surface to judge distance, which is a lot harder than it sounds. You have to collect all the fruit before you can unlock the door, and even missing just one will make you lose a life. The levels get more and more difficult, and soon there's obstacles you have to avoid, fruit you have to collect in a certain order, and some pepper switches that when hit make Yoshi eat all of the fruit in the direction he's facing. If you pick up a present, you have a chance at getting some coins, a 1-up, or a check mark, which you can place anywhere and it shows up on both screens, which can be really useful. To become a star player, you have to make it through stage 20, which is pretty hard. By the time I got there, I only had 1 life left, so it was really stressful drawing that final line to the door. There's even more extra challenging levels past level 20, but I could never make it very far in those ones. This one is pretty fun, but it doesn't have a ton of replayability since once I beat level 20 and got a decently high score, I didn't really feel like playing it again. Octopus Dance has you following the dance patterns of this instructor robot, where each analog stick controls one of your arms. The gamepad view is from behind, which is basically the only way to follow the moves quickly and accurately. Stage 1 is easy, stage 2 flips you around so you have to look at the TV, and then stage 3 is where it gets really annoying. This tiny red octopus floats down in front of you and shoots ink all over the screen, so you can't see the moves you have to follow on the gamepad. That means you have to either try and see through the ink, or look at the TV where everything is inverted. Trying to follow fast-paced instructions while also flipping them in your head causes my brain to short circuit and stop working. I really don't like this type of artificial difficulty. Covering the screen is such a cheap way to add challenge. And you only have 4 lives, where even one tiny mess up causes you to lose one. It's possible that I'm just terrible at this attraction, but I spent nearly an hour replaying the same sections over and over again before I was finally able to complete the final stage and become a star player. I was enjoying this one for about the first 15 minutes, but after a while it got really old and became a chore. So playing it for a small amount of time is probably fine, but be warned that becoming a star player is not easy and very frustrating. At least it has really good music though. Donkey Kong's Crash Course is all about tilting the gamepad back and forth, pressing L and R to raise and lower beams, and blowing into the mic to bring up some platforms. It's really unforgiving with its physics. Just one tiny wrong move will instantly fail you and send you back to a checkpoint. This giant gauntlet of obstacles is what you're working through, but thankfully it's not randomly generated, so you can start to learn what parts are the most difficult so you can take your time and master them. The first attempt you won't get very far at all, but after some practice you'll be flying through sections like a pro. You're supposed to be racing the clock, but even just beating it once without dying is enough of a challenge for me. But once you finally do beat it, you become a star player and unlock an even harder course after the first one. It can be pretty addicting once you get the feel of it down. Zooming through this obstacle course can be a lot of fun. It also has a lot of replayability since you can always get a better score with a faster time. My favorite solo attraction is Takamaru's Ninja Castle, a super fun collection of stages where you hold the gamepad vertically and swipe up to shoot ninja stars, moving it around to aim. This is a really unique control setup that's unlike anything else, and it's really satisfying to use. Quickly flicking your hands to the right to instantly shoot a ninja that pops up feels awesome. If you run out of throwing stars, you have to tilt up to reload, so you have to keep that in mind while frantically shooting stars everywhere. I absolutely love the theme of this attraction. The Japanese origami storybook look is fantastic. Eventually you unlock scrolls, which are special moves you can draw on the gamepad to use power-ups for a few seconds, like drawing a circle to throw bombs, or drawing a horizontal line to slow down time. When things get too crazy, it's a nice way to save yourself at the last second. Making it all the way to the final stage will put you up against this giant papier-mâché parade float boss, which looks really foreboding and impressive. I'm not really sure what the best strategy is since I just spammed him with bombs, but that seemed to work. This big dude can be pretty tough to take down, so it's a great final challenge. Once he's defeated, you become a star player and unlock an extra challenging version after the final boss where you have less ninja stars to throw. Captain Falcon's Twister Race is similar to Ninja Castle where you hold the gamepad vertically, only this time you're tilting it back and forth to steer. It feels pretty weird at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's really fun. Like most of the other solo attractions, this one can be pretty punishing. You have a strict time limit at all times, and you can't take very many hits without running out of time. And later on, these red spiky bombs are introduced that will end your run with one hit. Dying means going all the way back to the very start, so the later stages are pretty high stakes. Starting at Area 9, the classic F-Zero Mute City theme starts playing, which is the perfect way to hype you up for the hardest section. Area 11 is by far the toughest part. Dodging all these bombs at high speed took me many tries. And then you have to be extra careful with these rainbow boost ramps, as hitting them at the wrong angle will send you flying off the course. This attraction is very challenging, but the course stays the same with every attempt, so eventually you can learn exactly where everything is. It sucked when I was just a few seconds away from finishing the course, but I knew exactly what to do better next time. I also like that you can look between the TV and the gamepad to get two very different perspectives on the race course. I did have a few times when the gamepad disconnected at the worst possible time, but other than that, I really enjoy this one. To get a star on this attraction, you have to make it through Area 12, which will take more than a few tries. And finally, we have Balloon Trip Breeze, which is one of the most straightforward attractions. It plays like the classic NES balloon fight game, only instead of clicking a button, you're swiping around on the touchscreen to create bursts of air. There's not really a need to look down at the gamepad, as the TV gives you a much better view of everything. I like how the time of day changes in the background like cloth being pulled over, and there's this part with some really strong wind that's pretty fun, but other than that, there's not too much to say. All you need to do to become a star player is make it to day 3, which only took me one attempt. After that, the length of your journey is extended to be even longer, but I didn't really feel like playing anymore. This isn't a bad minigame or anything, and I like how it modernizes the balloon fight gameplay, but it's not nearly as interesting or exciting as the other modes this game offers. And with that, I've covered all 12 attractions in Nintendo Land. One thing I haven't mentioned is that there's also stamps like in Wii Sports Resort, which is a great way to add extra objectives to each attraction. There's also an attraction tour mode where you can take turns using the gamepad to play various modes to try and get the most points. This is a nice way to try and make the solo attractions usable in a group setting, but you're probably just better off playing one of the multiplayer attractions. Once you finally become a star player in all 12 attractions, the big final congratulations the game gives you is this really cool end credits sequence where the credits roll in the night sky around the main plaza, and you can run around shooting sparkles out of the crown on your head at stars that are falling down all around you. The credits music is great too, playing themes from all the different attractions. This is one of my favorite staff roles in any video game. I just love the way they executed this. It feels like a giant thank you and goodbye, like you're finally leaving a theme park after a long day of fun. Revisiting this game was seriously so much fun, and it definitely still holds up today. All 12 attractions are really solid and a lot of fun. It's crazy how much thought and care went into each one. If I had to pick just one favorite, I'd probably say Metroid Blast is the one I enjoy the most, but Mario Chase is just perfect for multiplayer. Nintendo Land is one of my favorite party games of all time. I really think local multiplayer doesn't get much better than this, and I just love seeing so much of Nintendo's history be combined into one game. I hope they revisit that concept someday. Personally, I think this game is one of the best Nintendo console launch titles of all time, even better than the original Wii Sports, although it's probably slightly less accessible and easy to understand. If only we could have gotten a full sequel that fleshed out the ideas even more, like the masterpiece Wii Sports Resort. Nintendo Land was able to prove why the gamepad was an idea that had potential, which is something very few games were able to do, and it managed to give me some of my happiest memories along the way. I'll always love and appreciate this game. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Hopefully you enjoyed this celebration of both Nintendo Land and the Wii U's 10th anniversary. It was a lot of fun to make. This is also the 10th episode of Nostalgia Rewind that I've made, which is pretty cool that it all lined up so perfectly. Thanks to everyone who's tuned into the videos I've made. I really appreciate it and it means the world to me. Go ahead and share your own personal memories that Nintendo Land has given you. And if you've never played it before, I hope I was able to show you what makes this game so special. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see ya in the next one.